Hey guys, welcome back to another creator commentary. It's been quite a bit since I did the Cluttered Confusion one, so I figured it was time for another one, and today we are doing none other than Violet Illusions. This level is rather interesting because it is nothing like any other level I've made, both in gameplay and decoration, and I'm very excited to talk about it. And I hope you guys are excited to hear my thought process behind the decoration and all that. And as a bonus, we got the verifier RG18. He has a segment about the gameplay, and that will be after this section. So, hope you're looking forward to that too. Anyways, let's get right into it. Alright, so starting off, we got this small intro part. There's not much to talk about. It really just kind of pulses to the music like a few times. Like that. And you have to buffer that black orb, and then you just go up here. And now we got the cube part. So the cube part is probably one of the best parts of the level. Either that or the spider, which we will get to in a little bit. I think I did a really good job capturing the openness of this cube. Like you can see, it's very open, lots of structures everywhere, and it really provides, I think, the best atmosphere. So let's talk about the block design. As you can see, I have a bunch of boxes, both 2x scale and 1x scale, and they're all mashed together into structures. Now this is called box meta, and box meta is just, you take boxes. You can make like any different kinds of boxes you want, really. It's like, you could just have the basic one, you could have a box like that, a box like this, even one like this or that. Like, you can just make any shape and size of box you want. You put your decoration in it, and then you paste them together to make structures. That's what I did here, except in this part I only used 2 different boxes, which were 1 and 2x scale, because I wanted to keep it simple. And the actual block design itself is very basic. We just have some black blocks. I don't know what these are called, but it is these ones, these guys. And you can see they have like the edge like is slightly brighter. I use these blocks quite a bit. I use them in Cluttered Confusion as well. And on the second layer we have the pulsing objects, pulsing outlines. And if I play the song here, you'll see they just pulse like throughout the whole part, like this. And I think it looks really clean. That is the main highlight of this block design. We also have a few slopes. They alternate back and forth, as you can see. There's like 2 of them. It's not very visible. You can't really see it too well unless you're super zoomed in, but I think it adds just that extra bit of detail that it needs. And then we got the actual outlines, which for some reason I made with 3D outlines. I don't know why. I don't know what I was doing that day. It would have saved objects. It would have made these actually have hitboxes, but yeah, they're just outlines. They're just colored to like the background with some slight hue change. We got a bit of black glow here to separate the bottom part of the block design from the top part. As you can see, it actually looks like it's behind it with the black glow. And then if you remove the black glow, like you can see, it looks a lot worse. And then if you add the black glow, it actually shades it quite well. And we have a few chains just on top of each block. I forgot to mention these. They're just basically these, but they're on lower opacity, on 50%, just to extend each block structure out. And I think it does a really nice job of filling up the space without looking too messy. The orb deco for this part is nothing really too special. I just took these 2 boxes that rotate opposite of each other, and I put them on top of each other, and then put one on each orb. It's a really nice way to make orb deco, and it looks really simple, but it does the job. And for spikes and saw blades, they literally just have the same block design as the boxes. They just have the pulsing outlines. That's like this whole deal with this part, is the pulsing outlines. There's a blending screen over everything. As you can see, it's like pulsing back and forth here. Blending screens are just a good way to add vibrancy, which I probably mentioned this in like the Cluttered Confusion commentary or something like that. Blending screens just add a bit more to anything and make it more vibrant. Alright, background. I love this background. I think it's one of the best backgrounds I've ever made. And I'll show you exactly how it works. So, I used sloped 3D lines to make little triangle outlines, both big ones and small ones. And then I covered them up with you can just fill them in with anything. On this side, they're like brighter, and then on this side, I shaded them in, but they're a bit darker. As you can see, there's like a lighter side and a darker side. This gives it kind of a 3D look, and I think it looks really cool. And then we have this purple glow. It's literally just on the same color as the background. And it helps cover up like the bottom of the triangles. Like if you move the glow down, you'll see that it's just really messy at the bottom. But if it's up here, it perfectly covers it up. And it also gives it more depth. Like here, I'm going to remove all the glow. And then we're going to see what it looks like. And this will show how the glow really contributes to this background. So if we take all the glow, we delete it. It looks a lot worse. Like the glow really covers up all the bottoms of it. And now you get this nice background with lots of depth. And it's me, I like to make my layering backgrounds move up and down, so it obviously does that. I just think it gives it like more activity. It just makes it not static. And there's 3 different layers, they each get a bit darker as you go. It's a really easy background to make, and it actually looks really, really good. So I'd recommend it, especially if you have like a cube part like this where you're like high up. Basically, in the very back, I just have a few just rotating squares. You can see them. They'll just add a bit of texture to make it not look super empty in the back. This part is really simple. This level itself is just a really simple level. Because when I was making Cluttered Confusion, I sent like a picture of a block design to my friend Brainy TR. He told me that I should try and make my block design simpler and have a lot less objects, but like the objects that I do have, you like make them like impactful and stand out instead of just throwing a bunch of things together and then it looks good, which is what I did in Cluttered Confusion. And as a result, Cluttered Confusion has a lot of objects. So this level is dedicated to Brainy TR. His name's in the end screen because he kind of inspired me to make a simpler level, and this worked really well. I love how this part turned out, and the block design's really simple, so simplicity is good sometimes. As you can probably also notice, the background changes from blue to purple the farther you go through the part. It alternates back and forth between blue and purple over the courses of like 30-second intervals, because, you know, if the part is like 30 seconds long, you're going to want to like keep some variety with it, like change the colors a little bit. So that's exactly what I did, and I think it worked really well. It's really easy too. Just used one background trigger, set it to like purple, and it fade 30 seconds. Bam. Easy. One final thing with this cube. This is the only part of the level that has block movements, but I only added the block movements to the blocks you don't land on. And I did that for 2 reasons. 1, I didn't want to make gameplay inconsistencies. Since this level is really hard, we don't need any more consistencies than it already has. Number 2, I'm lazy. This level, like, there's lots of spots of obvious laziness in this level. There's at least one more I can think of, but there's probably others, like, literally everywhere. Anyways, let's move on to the UFO. The UFO. Probably the most interesting part. Also the worst looking part, but we'll get into that. This part is like the wackiest part I've ever made. Like, just look at what is on the screen right now. This background. Like, there's a lot to unpack. But we'll get through all of it, trust me. So starting off, we just have a few pulsing objects behind everything to like give the block design, make it pop out a little more from the background, because it kind of blends in. And then we also just have these blocks, which you can see there's like a lot of little small blocks with different hues stacked on top of each other. And I'll show you the effect that this makes here in a second. Now here's the glow. This glow that you can barely see it here. You can see it now. It's like these purple lines. What they do is they mask the blocks of different hues. As you can see, like up here, like you can't see all of them. And I'll show you how it works here. So, we're gonna get this block that I have down here. We go to this piece, see how it's on layer -7. Now we go to the next one, which is on layer -5, and there is a gap, and the gap is where the glow goes. So if I can actually select the right glow here, yeah, it's on -6, so it would cover that block only, and you could see the other ones. And the glow is scaled down, just like the blocks, and the layer is moved to, just like the blocks. So it moves back and forth, and it makes an interesting warping effect in the blocks. And I think it's a cool effect. I used it in one of my older levels, Greatness Redux, and I felt like it would fit this part kind of well, so I decided to use it. I think it works. There are glow beams around every dash orb. I was going to put them on every orb, but then again, laziness. And also I did not want this level to have a billion objects. So it's only on the dash orbs, like you can see, like there's little pulsing glow beams. On this layer we just have a bit of animated stuff in the background. It's like kinda hard to see, but it's just there to help fill in some space, give it a bit more background. This glow right here is really bright, as you can see, and what it does is it moves up and down the screen. So it goes like up like this, and then back down. And it can create some really bright parts. Like some parts of this UFO are ridiculously bright and glowy. It doesn't work for every time it moves up, but it works for most of them, and I think it just looks nice. I think the blending color is pretty good. 80% opacity there. Ground spikes. I really like the ground spikes in this part. These objects rotate really slowly. They have a slow rotation, and it doesn't even need a rotate trigger. These objects, you can make them rotate all by themselves with the edit rotate action. And you can set custom, and you can make it like 20, and then it'll go really slow. Or you could make it go faster, but it fits, the slow fits better for Violet Illusions. We also have pulsing circles, if I can select all of them. They pulse to the beat of the song, as you can see here. I honestly think they look really cool. They definitely add to the part, and they make up for the lack of sync in the cube. The cube really doesn't sync that well. Like the effects don't sync too well, the gameplay doesn't sync very well. So I wanted to make up for that with the UFO, and the UFO definitely does a better job. And then on this layer we have just outlines that pulse every once in a while, as you can probably see here. Just to also give the structures some hitboxes and to distinguish them from the background. It's mainly just so you can see them when they're all covered up by the glow because of the effect. So that way you can still see the hitboxes and you're not all tripped up by it. And one of the last things to talk about in this UFO is there's just a few clouds. They look really ugly on their own, but they go together with the ground spikes here, and I think it just adds a nice little extra layer. This UFO part is widely regarded as the worst part of this level, and I do agree. I was very experimental with this part, and it shows. It's not the best looking compared to the cube especially, but I still think it looks solid enough, and I am very proud of myself for going way out of my comfort zone with literally everything in this part. So I still like how the UFO turned out, despite it not being as good quality-wise as the other parts. That's pretty much all I've got to say for the UFO. Next up is the spider. Ah, the spider. Yes, my favorite part. I love this part. I love everything about how this turned out. I think it's pretty much perfect. It turned out exactly how I wanted it to in my head when I envisioned this part, and I'm so excited to get into it. So, this part uses a technique called masking, and if you don't know what masking is, don't worry, I will explain it. So, masking is where you take blocks that are like the same color as the background, and you cover everything up except the things you want the effect to show through. And in this case, I wanted the effect to show through the blocks. So I just put masking everywhere except the blocks, and you like use slopes, you can use like other blocks, like you just have to fill in the space. And as you can see, like if we go to another layer, we've got a vortex here, but you can't see it except in the block design. And that is how masking works. I think masking is wonderful. It's really easy to do, and it looks good if you can make a cool effect, which honestly is not that hard. The effect in the masking in this level is really simple, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. And it just looks really clean, in my opinion. Like, masking is great. The actual, like, block design, I guess, that's not the masking, is really simple. There's just some faded invisible blocks, then if we go back here, we just have basic outlines. And for the spikes and orb deco, we just have some X's and a few pulsing objects inside the spikes that are on blending, so, like, they stack on each other and become brighter. And the orb deco, I just made a circle of these pointy little objects and they rotate around each other. It's kind of like the orb deco in the second part of Miscellaneous Memory. Now this may not look great, but it's like actually a bunch of really low opacity objects, as you can see here. There is 9 of them. And they have that effect in Glide that you've probably all seen by now if you know my levels, where like the blocks move really fast after each other, and it creates a really cool effect, especially when it's on blending. And it creates a cool like blurry effect inside the mask behind the vortex, and it turned out so good. I love how it turned out, man. It just, oh, this part is so good. For ground spikes, it's really easy. It's just a bunch of scaled up saw blades that are above everything. I think it works. Alright. Now when you make a masking part, you obviously can't just leave it as blank blue blocks and just have everything be inside. You can't do that. It will look way too empty, which is a problem with masking. So what I did to fix it was I just added some like lines of stars, as you can see here, to help fill in some space. I think they fill in the space pretty nicely. I also added some of those glow beams that you saw in the UFO. And how you get the glow beams to like have this little really bright line in the middle is this glow is not perfectly spaced. It's like normally like that. You just move one of the glow pieces 2 blocks in towards the other one, and then they blend together because it's on blending, and you get this really nice beam. We have some electricity on the same color as the glow, and it also goes with the glow, so it gives the glow a bit of animation, so it's not just sitting there. I think it definitely helps with the glow, and I'm glad I added it. Now these things are pretty interesting. I call them windows, and you can see the background through them. Like, as you can see, there's no blue blocks like behind them, and I think it just adds a bit extra to the part, helps fill in a bit more space, makes it a bit interesting, as you can still see it even outside the actual block design. You can still see the effects. There's also just a few particles, as you can see, just some rotating particles that just help fill in a bit more space. That's what masking is all about. You gotta fill in the space like on the parts that aren't masked, because otherwise it'll just look super empty and just not really that good. This is definitely my favorite part in this level. I'm super proud of how both the gameplay and the decoration turned out. I think it's some of my most interesting gameplay, and I even put a swing copter part in it. I guess a swing spider, but here's one more piece of extreme Enfur laziness. I really was, like, I wanted to be so done making, like, this spider gameplay. It was so hard to come up with 30 seconds of spider gameplay. So after the swing spider, I still had, like, all of this part to, like, fill in up until that ship portal. And I could have made, like, a bunch of goofy clicks and all that, but no, I just put a pad, a portal, an orb that you have to buffer. It's not even an interesting timing. You just have to buffer it because I added a saw blade on it. And yeah, you just go through some gravity portals. That is literally all it is. So anyone who's playing this level, you're welcome for me making this part extremely easy. Just thank my laziness. Anyways, let's move on to the ship. Okay, these pulse triggers are going to be kind of a problem. Okay, now that I moved all those pulse triggers out of the way, it's time to talk about the ship part. And don't worry, I will explain what the pulse triggers do later. We're just going to take it step by step, because there's a lot to unpack here. This is the messiest part of the level, in my opinion. I think this part is a bit too messy overall, but I still think it looks pretty good. And a lot of people think this is the best part of the level. So, I guess it worked out. Anyways, as you can probably see, if you remember from the cube, I used box meta in the cube. I used box meta in this part too, but as you can see, I made a lot more box shapes and a lot more designs. There's like, I think 4 different designs. I actually used real outlines this time instead of fake ones, so that's pretty cool. And I also used these black objects again, the little weird ones. I don't know what they're called, man. I use them all the time in box meta. I even use them for slabs, and as you can see, they pulse. These ones, they pulse purple to the song. Like that. And here's all the effects. There's some animated objects, some watery objects. This is basically just all animated objects. I don't think I really need to explain every single one. The main interesting one is this lightning, because it has the pulsing effect from the cube part where it goes like off and on, and I think that's pretty cool. But other than that, these are just all animated objects. They don't really have like any groups or anything like that. Oh yeah, there's also invisible blocks, and they have a block transition on them, so they're like going in and off and on the screen, and it's a pretty nice detail. And there's also pulsing objects around everyone, because I love putting pulsing objects on the outside of my blocks designs. I used to do it in like every block design, and it was really funny, but I don't do it as much anymore. But in this part, I thought it was rather fitting, and it helped a lot, in my opinion. There's also glow on the top of every box, as you can see, which it just adds a little bit. You can add a bit of extra polish with glow, but like you don't want to overdo it. Then you're just making it glow level. Ah, the ground spikes. These ground spikes are super wavy ground spikes, and I think they're pretty cool. So it's basically just a little watery object, and then some of these animated spikes. If I can actually select the spike, there we go. And I think it creates a pretty cool effect. I think it matches with the song quite well, the waviness as you're going through the ship part. The background. The background in this part is really interesting. It's on 2 different layers. It's kind of weird. It's just like each one is like a different brightness, and they all have different rotations and movements. So as you play the ship, they're moving up and down and rotating. So it's like a 10-layer layering background. And it's kind of subtle, but I think it looks like super awesome, especially on full detail. On LDM, it doesn't rotate, but on full detail, it looks crazy cool. And it definitely works. And I made this in like 10 minutes too. It's a really easy background to make. Like, just get some layers, get some rotations, bam. So now we're on the pulse triggers. As you can see, there are just 300 random blocks here. Now these are not random blocks. They each have an individual group. Well, I guess they have lots of groups here, but like each one has a unique one. And basically, all the pulse triggers that were up here, they're all on touch triggered, and when you touch the pulse trigger, it activates the block on that grid space. So it creates like a trail that like follows you and marks everywhere you go. And I think it's really cool, but I don't know if the way I do it is very efficient. It uses 300 groups. So, but I don't make all of my blocks move, so I have groups to spare. And I think it looks really cool. It's a tiny bit messy, especially with everything else on full detail, but I think the ship part it's the finale. It can be like a bit messier than everything else, a bit more intense, if you will. And then on this layer here, we have some like just, I guess, speed lines. I don't know what these are called. I did not make these. Smartish made them. He polished the level. That's why I like don't know what they're called. I don't really know anything about them, so, but I just thought I'd bring them up. For the orb deco on the ship, it's literally just a pulsing square, and then like, I always do this, man. I think turned out really nicely. They rotate around this center block. Not block, that's a circle. It's a circle. Learn your shapes, man. Yeah, it's just two pulsing circles. A black one and then a purple one on the inside. It's really simple orb deco, but then again, this part has a lot going on, so I didn't really need to make anything super complex. For saws and spikes, it's not really too complex either. I just used some of those like pokey objects I used in the spider orb deco, and I think it looks pretty clean. Another ship part, it uses this box meta obviously throughout like the whole part, but I did break it up. I made little masking bits, and I really like how these masking bits turned out. It's just these are rotating and they're like falling downwards, so it creates a really cool effect when you're going through the part. And other than that, it's pretty much just like black blocks and some spikes, some like backing blocks so that you can't see the background through these. And there's also like these watery objects that give it just some purpley texture so it's not completely empty. There's another one here, and then over here we've got another one. I think the masking parts look really nice. They add diversity to the part, since obviously the parts in this level are really long, and for this one I really wanted to split it up a bit. Yeah, other than that, there's really not too much to talk about, except for the very ending here, which I am so proud of this ending. What I did was, this last ship, to the beat of the song, it cycles through each different part of the level. Here, I'll play it for you. Bam. It goes backwards. It goes to the spider, back to the UFO, back to the cube, and then back to the very start of the level where it's just black and white for like 2 seconds. And then you end off with an end screen, which I think it's really cool. It's one of those end screens where there's like a bar on the side and the text is moving up, and there's like text that says Violet Illusions. And I use the vortex from the spider, since I think vortexes are kind of like illusion-y, I guess. And it's really cool. Originally this level didn't really have an end screen. It kind of did, but it was kind of just text. And halfway through RG verifying this level, I was just like, I got an idea for an end screen. Can I make one? And then I made this, and now the level has an actual end screen. Which is I normally suck at making end screens, man. But I just think this one turned out really well. Making this was really fun. I had a great time building this level. Everything worked according to plan. I think every part turned out how I wanted it to, pretty much. The UFO was a bit off. I was a bit concerned about that part, but I was able to save it in the end. Yeah, this level, I like it a lot. I think it is probably tied for my best released level with Smartish mode, at least the updated version. And yeah, I'm just really proud of this level. And the feedback I got from it when I released it was insane. Everyone really liked it, and it means a lot that people like take the time to check out my levels and support them. If not for you guys, I wouldn't be creating still. So, thanks a lot. Anyways, so that's the decoration of Violet Illusions. Now here's the verifier RG18 with the gameplay.
Hello, I'm RG18 and I verified Violet Illusions, and this is my part of the creator commentary. Let's get started. This level is really hard. Me almost 3 months to verify and a total of 57,000 attempts, which is a lot. I was actually originally not the verifier for this level. It was supposed to be Jedwint, but what ended up happening was like Jedwin got started on it. He did like a few small runs, or he like learned the whole level or something. I don't know exactly. And then 2.2 got announced to be coming in October 2023, which we definitely didn't get. But like, it was starting to stress Jedwin out, and he was like, I don't know if I can do this before 2.2, and like, it's gonna be a disaster. And so Jedwin knew that I had like always wanted to verify in Extreme, so he just like randomly out of the blue was like, yo, do you want to verify Vital Illusions? And I was just like, what? It was honestly an interesting experience. I mean, playing the level itself was pretty painful because I died at 98 2 times. No! And I had a total of 9 last ship deaths, which is great. Alright, getting started with the gameplay of this beginning part is like so like irrelevant. The first cube is probably the hardest part of this level, and it's like a really big mind block to just have to sit here and play from 0 to pass it. Part of that is my fault because I buffed it a bit. People that like know that I buffed it, they're always like, dude, why did you buff the cube so much? But like the truth is, like, it really wasn't that much. Like, I buffed like this click, and then there was like an extra hitbox there, like I got rid of that. I buffed that click. Okay, maybe it is a lot. About the actual gameplay of the cube itself, I don't think it's that bad. It's just like really friggin' hard. This cube part is where I spent like most of my time verifying. I think most of this cube gameplay is pretty good. I like a lot of it, how it flows. It's just that it's really hard. This first coin went through a bunch of changes. I actually came up with the idea for it like before I was the verifier, because originally I was just a playtester of the level and we needed another coin. And I was like, yo, what if we put one like right here? Because I found this weird route where instead of going up here and hitting this blue orb twice, going up so like this, you can instead like click, land on this ledge. This block moves up as you go. You land on here and you jump. And then I buffed the coin a lot because I still wasn't sure if the coin was actually harder than the normal route. So I buffed the dash orb and how far away it is to the point where like you have to click very late to reach the dash orb from this jump. And it's pretty damn hard. But I like how the coin turned out, honestly, and I think it's pretty good. This part went through a few random changes. There actually used to be 2 black orbs here, but I found a skip that involved, like, after you jump here, you just hold. Like so, you go boing, boing, boing. And then you can just click on this last one, so you can hold onto this click. And when we tried to add, like, a toggle orb and whatnot, it made it so that you could no longer, like, buffer this and be fine. And it was like a huge disaster. So we just got rid of the black orb. I think it plays better like this, although it might look a little weird with just a black orb vibe in there. I think it turned out fine. This click is extremely hard. In this part of the cube, you have to jump over here, skip this blue orb, and just click the green one. You jump here, and with the black orb, you have to land on this ledge, so you can jump over to the next platform. This click is like really freaking beefy, but it actually got consistent somehow. This, by far, was the biggest choke point of the entire cube for me, and it involves simply jumping off of this platform, clicking the green orb, and clicking the black orb on this corner. And it was just so difficult. There were multiple factors here based on where I jumped off the platform, when I hit the green orb, and when I hit the black orb. And I had to land on the freaking edge, and it was so hard. It never really got super consistent, but it wasn't like cancer. This part went through a lot of changes as I was verifying it because I hated how it was originally, and thankfully Enfur was not a big fan of it either because I really did not like how the gameplay was originally. This is how it was originally. It was these yellow portals with the green orbs in them, and it kind of just looks quirky, but like it was the most inconsistent thing ever, and I really could not get the hang of it. So I flat out just asked Enfur if I could change it, and I did. So I wanted to come up with some other type of gameplay, so I came up with this. where there's a little baby spike right there. You're gonna jump here, and this moves up, so like the spikes are right here. You have to not click this pink orb, and instead you have to jump, hit the red orb, hit the dash orb, and you can land on this corner, but why would you? It's so much more difficult. You hit the dash orb, and you release onto the corner, jumping up there, and bam, you can move on. Also, all the random saws that you see blocking your path, these go away if you do the gameplay right. You have to land on the toggle for it to go away. That way you can't just hold the dash orb all the way through. Anyways, we're on the UFO now. This part has some really quirky gameplay, and it's also obviously like extremely freaking difficult. So it starts off, you land on a slope, and you just have to do 2 double clicks, and you go in through here. And then you've got the second coin here, which is in the UFO part, which involves, instead of like clicking this green orb and clicking once and going down here and then going bam bam like so, which is very consistent, you have to instead go bam bam and then bam bam and get into this little corridor. And then from here you have to click this dash orb and release it before you go up too high, and that's like the really hard part of this coin. But it actually did get pretty consistent, but it is still really hard. After that, you got this really wacky part, which involves you going through here and clicking both these dash orbs really fast. Just bam bam, straight up. You just go straight up. I didn't mean it as in like a Travis Scott. This part is like, it looks so top 1, but it is super consistent. This part was actually changed a lot. Originally, this was a spam part. There was no black orb here. You had to like spam downwards, and it was kind of wacky. And then you do the rest of this gameplay. And I thought it did not fit in very well with the rest of the gameplay. The spam just didn't fit in, and so I was like, yo, Enfur, could I change this? Because like the spam is really annoying, and I'm just not vibing with it. And he was like, yeah, sure. So instead we added a black orb here, where you have to click in the middle of them, and then you just click the black orb to go down. And I like this so much more. It is actually consistent, because it's not too bad of a timing, and it just fits in so much better with the gameplay. I like it a lot. For these, it's so easy. You literally just go hold, hold, hold. And I considered buffing this part and removing the S blocks, and then when I tried it, it was like the most abhorrent thing to ever exist. So I immediately added the S blocks back, and I never looked back, because this part is so much better with those S blocks. It's actually really satisfying to do, and it's super easy, so I like that part. I just remember there's actually an Easter egg right here, so I'll show that off. In this part, there's a hidden toggle orb just vibing right here, and if you click it, it it teleports you to the top of the level with this teleport portal, and then you fall down and you go whee, and you fall through these saws, and then this toggle, it like gets rid of like all of this gameplay, that way you don't hit it as you fall down. So you like fall through here, and then it says, wasn't that fun? And you die in these spikes. And it's like super random. I don't know. I really don't have a good explanation, but we thought it was funny, so we left it in, and I like it. This black orb is so hard. You have to land on the corner of this and then fall down here. Or there's actually an Easter egg where if you land on this corner instead, which is much harder, then you get some text. I forgot where it is, but you can test it out for yourself. I'm not going to go find it. I don't remember where it is. And then this part is so weird. After you click the black orb and you fall, you have to wait like the millisecond. The millisecond you hit this portal, you got to click this yellow orb. This green orb is like, oh man, such a hard timing. You gotta wait until you hit the pad, and then about in the middle you gotta click it, so you like go through like that. And then this part went through a lot of changes. There's an extra invisible hitbox right there, because without it this part would be like probably a frame perfect timing. Like, bruh, I actually can't. This click is so hard. You have to hit the yellow orb and bonk your head on there. That way you like fall through, because if you don't bonk your head, you just like fly up like that and you die. This part also went through a lot of changes. So when I first got this level, this dash orb was like so hard, dude. Originally, like this saw was like this. You have to hold it, and the moment you freaking like were holding it and you go above the block, you let go. And so what I changed was these structures. Like, they were originally like not this close, but they were like really freaking close. and it was so hard. So I spaced these out a lot because this click was so hard. And it's actually really easy now. I probably shouldn't have nerfed it as much as I did. It's way more consistent now, and I think that's what matters. After that, you got this wacky part. And what you do here is, it's another one of these blue pad things where you have to click it after you hit the blue pad. So you go boing. And then this is like the opposite of the other orb yellow portal thing,
Stereophonic sound for the home is recorded on 2 separate tracks.
where you actually have to hit the green orb right before you go into the yellow portal. So you click it, and then the yellow portal doesn't affect you since you're upside down. So you go through, and then the dash orb timing is pretty hard. And then a triple click, bam, spider. This part's great. I like the spider a lot. I think the gameplay is really good. It's just that it's like really hard again. Like this, that's the theme of this level. It's like frickin' impossible. So there are a lot of double clicks in this part. And by double clicks, I don't mean like that. I mean like where you like use 2 inputs and you have to do them at like the same time. And here's one right here. You have to go really low on this orb, and then you do a multi-input double click. This yellow portal was supposed to be here to add more difficulty, but it really like did nothing. Like, which I find kind of funny, because when you go through here, you go bam, bam, and when you do this yellow orb timing, you're gonna hit it late so that you can make it through there. And I never found a single case where I was gonna hit the yellow orb late enough to make it through there, but it was like too high to hit this. Like the only time you hit this portal is if like you try to. Like you hit it like super early and you go in there for fun. So yeah, that's supposed to be there as like an object to get in your way, but it really doesn't, which is kind of funny. This part went through so many changes. Oh man. Originally, like before this level was play tested, this was a frame perfect click. This one right here where you're on the slope and you have to click down. Also, there's like an invisible thing here to help you. This was a frame perfect on 60, and it was only possible on 60 hertz, which I don't even know how that's possible. This click got mega nerfed. I actually buffed it a lot. Like, when it was given to me for verification, it was like this, and I was like, whoa, like, why are they so close together? So I spaced them out more. That way, they just, like, look a lot less ugly. And it's still a pretty easy click, so yeah, nothing too crazy. This part's interesting, and I found, like, a really consistent click pattern for it. You click this one kind of late, and then you buffer this one, and it works almost every time. And this click, this muff, after you go up here and you go this way, this blue orb is a 60 hertz frame perfect still. I didn't change it, because, like, this level's hard. Like, I nerfed this click so many times. Look how much of the freaking extra block is there to help you. And this is still a 60 hertz frame perfect. You have to click the blue orb so late that you land on this side. And damn, is it hard, dude. This part's interesting because it's kind of like based on when you click this dash orb. If you click this dash orb too late, then you'll make it through, but you'll hit the pad, like, not at the first point. Like, instead of going down early and hitting the pad immediately, you go down later and you hit the pad like this. And what happens there is that this red orb becomes a little harder. You'll be higher up with this red orb. And then almost always, this timing is so much more difficult. This timing involves you coming down as a spider. You gotta hit the pad and then hit the blue orb. Oops. Hit the pad and then hit the blue orb right after. So you go like boom, bum, bum, like that. When you click this dash orb late, since you're like over to the right more, you like come over here and you're so close to the spike that you have like, after you hit the pad to hit the blue orb, not actually one frame, I don't know how much it is, but it is pretty hard. This dash orb, it's much, much easier if you click it easy. After that, you got this pink orb, which started out impossible, and I nerfed the hell out of it because it was so hard. You just gotta hit it twice, you go bam, bam, like that. It's kind of quirky. After this, you got the 47 eats your lunch. This is a part that involves 2 pretty hard clicks that I die to a lot from 0. You gotta click on this slope before you like completely fall off, about like right there. You gotta click. And then after that, you got this yellow orb timing. That's like pretty standard, but also pretty freaking impossible. I'm not sure what this is. I remember adding this, and I completely forgot what it is. Okay, I have no idea what this trigger is. I don't remember. I think it brings up some text if you die to that spike. This gameplay is actually super interesting. you have to go down here as a spider and then click this yellow orb before you hit the pad. And originally, this freaking yellow orb was like this, directly on top of it, and it was like the most impossible thing I'd ever seen. So I was like, yo, I'm nerfing the frick out of this. I'm sorry, that is so hard. And I still died to this from 0, even after nerfing it a lot. Like, oh man, it was so hard originally. I can't believe how hard Enfur makes his gameplay, dude. Freaking nuts. This part's also really unique. You fly through here as a spider, and you have to do a double click that involves you hitting both at the same time, and you like hit the red orb and the pink orb. So you go up with the red orb and then lose your momentum with the pink orb so you can make it through the gap. It's pretty cool, actually. This dash orb is also super quirky, since it's so like, since the dash orb is so steep, you have to do a tiny little click, so you end up going something like this. Whoop, and then you fall. Alright, this is probably the hardest part of the level, to be honest. I died here so many times, and I switched up my click pattern multiple times for this part. This is just the end of the spider. Like, the end of the spider's freaking top one. First off, you got this click, which is another one of these pad orb things. After you hit the pad, you have to hit the orb kind of late, so you fly through here. But you can still hit it too late. You can hit it too late and fly into the spikes. And these spikes used to have normal hitboxes. I actually moved the hitboxes up, so you can't die to them very easily. But it is still possible to hit it too late. Once you make it through the gap, what you're supposed to do is buffer. So you hit this and you flip upside down gravity, and then you hit it again late and you go through. But what I did originally was I like double tapped it at the very end, which is not very consistent. So I had to switch to the actual way that it's meant to be done. And also, you might notice that the structure looks a little funky, and that's because I made it. Because I like moved this spike over, and I don't know. I don't remember completely. It was a while ago, but the spike was like moved over a bit. I wanted to move it to the left. I had to move everything, and it just looks a little funky. This gap was much tighter originally. I spaced these structures out a lot. Like, Enfur made this level top 1, bro. Like, I nerfed it so much, and it's still so hard. After that, you've got the final impossible part. A click through here, and then this click looks so menacing. You have to be upside down gravity, and then click and make it through this gap. It's actually really consistent, but it looks so hard. I don't really know how I got this click so consistent. But after you go through there, you have to do a bam bam and make it through this gap. This is a monster. I died here so many times. This gap is so hard. After that, we got the swing spider, which is actually not too hard, and it's really satisfying to pull off. It starts off with having to click like right before you touch the ground here. So you gotta like, ooh, bang, and then you're upside down gravity. These first few saws here have no hitboxes, that way you can just go through them. But like, these ones do. After that, you go through here, you go, this part sings super well to the music. You go, bum, bum, bum. Yeah, it's like, ba-da-da-da, and then you click there. Oh wait, no, it goes, da-da-da-da-da. And then this final part is super satisfying. Bum, 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 through here. Bam, dash orb. Alright, then you gotta buffer click. And there's actually this little LDM toggle here, which I asked Enfur to make and then didn't end up using. Because I was like lagging at the end a lot. But I actually upgraded my PC midway through beating this. What this ending LDM does, at the very end of the level, it's like the coolest part ever. Oh, I forgot this was there. At the end of the level, it goes through all the themes. It goes backwards. So the ship part, and then the spider deco, and then the UFO deco, and then the cube deco, and then the very beginning deco, which is just like black and white. Like, isn't that so cool? Enfur is so creative. I love that so much. That's so awesome, dude. And what the LDM checkbox does, or the LDM toggle orb, it gets rid of this cool effect. So it just like stays as normal deco the whole time. And it's really ugly. I don't know if it actually helps with lag or not, but it is less objects, so I assume it would. Into the ship, we got this cool transition here. What? I don't really know how I'm going to view this because Enfur decided to add all these pulse triggers here. But the reason these are here is for a freaking trail, which actually looks super dope, so So I moved the transition over here, and I moved all these pulse triggers up so that I can actually see. The very start of the ship has this really chokeable click pattern where you go bum, 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 and then you click once to go through this gap, bum, bum. It's really satisfying to do. This ship is the easiest part of the level by far. If I had to rank all the parts by difficulty, it would probably be like cube, UFO, spider, ship. The UFO and spider are super close though. Yeah, Jedwin actually made the gameplay for this ship, and he made it easier than the rest of the level on purpose because he was supposed to be verifying it, and he didn't want to die to the end of the level a bunch. And it's funny because like I still died to this part 9 times from 0. That was painful. These spikes go away when you hit this orb. After that, you got this part where you do a bunch of swoops. You go boom, whoop, whoop, whoop. And then I nerfed this triple click a lot, and originally these gaps were like a lot tighter. It was like this. Like these spikes were moved in a lot. Okay, not that much. That's outrageous, but like it was a lot. And I was like, no, Enfur, like this is, like, what? Like, I can't do that. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna space these out a bit. Cause like, this is freaking impossible. It's like pretty consistent. There's actually another freaking swag route here. You're supposed to go through here and hit the blue orb, and then the pad won't affect you if you're upside down gravity. And you go through them. Cause like, in normal gravity, this pad is gonna bounce you up. So you have to straight fly through this gap, which is like the most menacing thing ever. You are not mini ship. If you fly through that, there's an Easter egg, and it's really funny, but also it's like top 10. This orb and this orb, they're both like the same thing. You're like falling, and then you have to click, and then you're holding this time, and then you have to click. Ooh, man, I died to these a lot from 0. For some reason, it's just like super chokeable. This part is super quirky. Jedwin was like on shrooms or something when he built this, but it's honestly pretty cool. For this part, you gotta fly through the dash orbs without clicking any of them. I mean, you can click them and then like readjust yourself, but it's like 2,000 times harder, and why would you ever do that? Through here and do it again, but upside down gravity. This dash orb used to be like up here, but I kept dying to it like in runs and stuff, and it was stressing me out that I was gonna die to it from 0, so I moved it down. Next, you got this part, which looks like, okay, what the hell is going on? And originally, it was so much worse. There's little gaps here for you to click in. Like, you're supposed to go, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you, like, hold, and or if you're getting the coin, you hold. If not, you just go down, which is easier. So you hold, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, dash orb, low CPS ship control, I guess. But originally, there were no gaps. It was all dash orbs, and the strat was to just do like little and like fall with the dash orbs. But it got changed. Luckily, I never had to deal with that. That got changed before playtesting. I'm glad that got changed because it like actually made this part consistent. And then this dash orb you actually hit, and Enfur added a little arrow there to make it like slightly clearer because there's a saw blade there you can't, which is really fun to do. Honestly, this ship is good, not your average ship gameplay. And then this part is so fun. You just go bam, 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 and it like syncs to the music. Okay, this part is like so epic. I love the deco this part. I'm supposed to be covering the gameplay, but like, Enfur cooked with this part, dude. Jeez. Anyways, you gotta go up through here, and you like hit these orbs. Well, I looked at my normal gravity ship, even though like the dual ship physics have the upside down ones. So you just fly through here, and then after that you gotta hold up and fly through this gap, some more orbs, and then you got the final ship corridor. And I died to 98 2 times, you know, which is like pretty insane. So you go through here as a normal ship, and then your mini, and you gotta fly through here. My first 98 death, I barely clipped the hitbox, like the right side of this, like when I was going up, like I barely hit it. And then my second 98 death was going for the coin. So if you get the key in the ship, you unlock this coin. Instead of just going up here and resting on this platform, you have to do the straight fly. And I died like to the entrance of it. I thought I wasn't gonna die to the end of this level at all. I didn't think I was gonna screw it up, but I did 2 times, so. But yeah, that's about it. That's Violet Illusions for you. It's honestly such a great level. The only reason I just had such a bad time with it while verifying was just because it was so out of my skill range. I was just not ready for something this difficult, and also like not my skill set, cause like I'm wave carried, bro. Where's the wave in this level? Like, it just doesn't exist. That's about it. I hope you enjoyed my creator commentary segment. Hopefully I like actually covered some important stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching my section of the video.
Alright, well that's it for Violet Illusions. I hope you enjoyed this creator commentary. Both me and RG worked pretty hard on it. Both the commentary and the level. This level is not rated yet. I really hope it does get rated. I really like it. And yeah, thanks a lot for all the support on my levels recently. I'm really glad I have the ability to make this kind of stuff, even if most of it is not playable by very many people because I only make hard levels. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed Violet Illusions. Hopefully I can do a Smartish Mode creator commentary sometime soon, because that level was interesting. That's gonna be like an hour at least, man. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and make sure to check out RG. He's good at the game and stuff. Yeah. See you on the next video.